And then Steve also said on one of Alex's shows that he's been told that many of the vaccinations are going to contain the Ebola virus as well as the 1918 Spanish flu virus, which they resurrected. So it looks real rough. They also told him that basically the New World Order is going for broke, and they're really, really determined to get us vaccinated. So we should take it that seriously and maybe start getting up some,
Mark,
some posters.
I'm heeding your warning, and I'll be covering it in the coming weeks. I thank you for the call. We'll be back after this. It's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas, PrisonPlanet.tv, Infowars.com. And sex and TV. You know, I didn't do my show live last week. We did it on Wednesday and then broadcast it again on Sunday because I went and saw Green Day over in San Antonio at the AT&T Center. Awesome show. Third time I've seen them. They were my first show when I was a kid. I went there when I was 15 years old on the Insomniac tour. They put on a killer show then. I saw them 10 years later on the American Idiot tour. If you listen to this program and you haven't listened to the album American Idiot, I mean, I don't know what you're waiting for. I think it's a very politically relevant piece of work. And their latest album is called 21st Century Breakdown. Now, there's a line in the title track, 21st Century Breakdown. Basically, that's the first song on the album after a little intro piece, if you will. There's a line in there that says, you know, watch the towers fall, Homeland Security here to kill us all. And the album's awesome. They're really reaching a lot of young people. They haven't gone, you know, hardcore 9/11 truth, but they're so anti-war. They're so peace movement. They seem to be so informed that, you know, if there's something that your kids should be listening to, it's Green Day, in my opinion. It's something the whole family can enjoy. And like I said, what a great show last week. All right, let's continue to your calls. Let's go to Steve in Michigan. Steve, you're on the line.
Hi, Jason. How you doing this evening?
Good.
I've been with you guys for about 3 weeks now. I've been trying to copy some DVDs, some of the movies, getting them sent out.
Excellent.
But it takes some time. I am trying to find some of the news articles that you and Alex have been holding over the last 3 weeks on your website, and I can't seem to find
Okay. Which ones are you looking for?
Well, you know, I can't think of any right off the top of my head, but Alex nearly every day just rattles off 8 or 10 of them. And
well, you know what? That's why we tell people. Well, that's why we tell people to get the PrisonPlanet.tv membership, because, you know, most of the time.
I do.
Oh, all right. Well, then I would say watch the rebroadcast in the WMV format, and usually while we're talking about an article, one of the board ops will bring up the article, and if they don't bring up the article at all, they'll zoom in with the document cam. And the majority of my stuff, at least, you know, me, I get it from Reuters. Reuters is usually my preference. However, you know, if you looked over or listened to the show today, I go to The Guardian a lot. I go to the Daily Mail in the UK. I also go to Drudge sometimes. I'll go to Fox and MSNBC every once in a while. But, you know, what we talk about usually, if you see the InfoWars articles, there is a link to the major article. So you always have to look in the very top for that link to the major article. But one of the other things that I'll do is I'll pull government documents, and they'll usually be off the .gov site. For instance, when I talk about the checklist for pandemic planning, influenza, from the WHO, and I often cite this because we are under level 6. Now, what's level 6? Well, that's a full pandemic. And if you read this preparedness checklist plan that, you know, is posted over at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.tv, but if you just type in those keywords, you know, WHO checklist for influenza pandemic preparedness, you'll find out that section 1.5.1 says once they declare level 6, you have no individual human rights. They can come in and quarantine you. They can use off-site drugs. And if you refuse to take these off-site drugs, they can compulsory vaccinate you. In other words, they can vaccinate you. You can't sue them. You can't do anything about that. And they basically say if you don't want to do that, they can imprison or kill you. Now, outside of world government, because that's World Health Organization, UN level, they have Executive Order 13375. Now, just check this out yourself. You type in Executive Order 13375. What is it? Well, if you were to refuse the vaccination, and the government made a law saying you had to take it, they say you can do up to 1 year in prison. On top of that, you get a $250,000 fine. And it is unbelievable to me that I'm reading these from official government documentation, yet somehow the New York Times can't print it. And, the New York Post won't touch it. And the Washington Times doesn't want to discuss it. I mean, if you've been listening, you've been on hold for a couple minutes here. If you listen to the Sibel Edmonds testimony that Osama bin Laden was a U.S. intelligence asset along with the Taliban up until the morning of 9/11, you think that should be headlines everywhere. That should be headlined everywhere. This woman should not have been gagged. She should have been able to tell her story to the 9/11 Commission. And what happened with her? She did tell it to the 9/11 Commission under closed doors and closed ears because they didn't want to hear the truth. They were there to cover up the truth. I thank you for the call, and keep with us, Steve. You've only been here 3 weeks. There's a lot more than 3 weeks worth of information in this show and the Alex Jones Show. Alex Jones is going to be coming in sometime in the next segment. We're going to continue to take your calls. It's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas. Remember, you can get the flicks over at Infowars.com, or you can watch them for free on YouTube and Google, because that's how we roll.